everyone! This is a totally different kind of video today, but yeah, today is Saturday, so it's exactly a week ago that I went to the Kennedy Space Center over in Merritt Island, and I did vlog, but all I got was B-roll. I didn't really vlog, like I didn't talk while I was there, partly because of who I went with and I wanted to be present in the moment, and partly because there's so much to do and to see and to read and to learn that I was distracted by everything that was there. So today's video is going to be just a little bit different. I wanted to kind of introduce you to the video, and then what we'll do is sort of like a voiceover and I'll just talk you through the B-roll footage. So I did go to the Kennedy Space Center last week. It was late April, so I would say that there were some spring break crowds. I wouldn't say that it was like really busy. It opened at 9 a.m. and we parked right at 9. It is $10 to park a vehicle, and that does not, I mean, it's not covered in your admission or anything. So we parked the car. We got there really early, so we got a really good parking spot. It was, I think, the second or third row back, so we were really close to the front. And then we did not buy our tickets online in advance. We actually purchased our tickets at a kiosk right outside the front gate. I think it was like $80 per person for 3 adults. So it is not cheap, but there's a lot to do, and there was a lot included in that ticket price. So I'll kind of get into that because we didn't pay anything additional other than for souvenirs like this nifty sweatshirt that I got. Security was next, so we went through security. I did take a backpack with me with a bottle of water and like a couple of snacks and things, and they didn't take those away from me. I did look that up online before we went just to make sure, because I wasn't really sure what we were going to do for lunch. The idea was to go be there as early as possible and stay until they kicked us out or until we got bored or had done everything. So I didn't know if we'd get hungry, so I wanted to take some snacks and some drinks, and I'm really glad we did take water. It was bright, it was hot, it was a beautiful day, and like I said, it wasn't too crowded. So we had a really great time. We left, I think, close to 3 o'clock, and we ended up having like a late lunch closer to the cruise port because it's maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes drive to the cruise port, like Port Canaveral. So we got to have lunch afterwards at a really close place. It's like right there on the water. I think it's called Grills, and so we got to watch a couple of cruise ships leave at the end of the day, which was really fun. But let's just get into the B-roll and talk a little bit about how the day went and the things that we did. It was really fun, and I'm so glad we did it, and I would definitely go back. So the first thing that you're seeing here is us as we're approaching the entrance. So of course there's a great big American flag. Here's our ticket. We bought our tickets at the kiosk, like I said, and now we are approaching security. You can see the, I think they call it the Rocket Garden behind there. Heroes and Legends was a theater. There were 2 separate shows in Heroes and Legends, and this is sort of like a 2-theater, I want to call it an atrium, but it was a really cool show. So we went in there first. It did, I don't know that it took us a full hour. Maybe it did from the time that we waited, but there's a nice accessible walking path ramp up, and it looks like you go through what seems to resemble a rocket or a shuttle. And then here's one of the theaters, is the Heroes and Legends Theater. This one was really cool. It's sort of like a 4D experience. And then after the theater kind of takes you downstairs, and you get to see some of the very first missions to space. So this is the actual mission control panels from Friendship 7. So this is the real panels. This was really incredible. There's a lot of history here. And when you think about it, and we sent people to space in 1962, I think we carry more technology in our pockets with our cell phones now than we had then, and it's really incredible to think that we not only sent people to space, but we brought them home safely. So this was a huge blast from the past. And here's the Gemini 9A. We sent somebody to space in that. I mean, it's really incredible to think about it. This right here is the team of 7, the original Mercury 7 astronauts. You think of the right stuff, that's them. And here is the first space flown United States flag. And what I thought was really cool about this one is it does say at the bottom that this flag's next possible mission is to travel to the surface of Mars. After you finish going through like the Gemini 9 exhibit, here is the Hall of Fame for astronauts, and these are our space heroes. This was really incredible. There's a lot of people that have been to space and a lot of people that have given their lives for the space journey and the space mission. It's really incredible when you think about it, and very powerful to be in this space. There's the Right Stuff team again. And they did have some electric control panels. If you wanted to search by mission or by year, you could do that with those little control panels. Next, it was time to go to the bus tour. The bus tour was included in our park admission. And once we boarded the bus, we got to actually walk on the surface of the moon. Doesn't that look cool? The bus tour was really great because it took us out past the vehicle assembly building, which is a great big gigantic building, and it took us to the Apollo Saturn V Center. The brochure says that this is about an hour-and-a-half experience. Once you get off the bus, they kind of dump you out into this theater, and there's a there's like a show, and then they send you into this mission control center, and you get to relive the mission control center experience of the launch of one of the Apollo missions. It was really, really incredibly powerful. So once you're finished with this, they send you into the next room, which has all kinds of different things you can do in here. And I think the exhibits in here were well worth the $80 that we paid to get in. If the whole day was just spent here, I think we would have had a good time. Here's a replica of one of the rover vehicles, if I'm not mistaken. This one with the tires is one that they practiced on here on Earth, and then this one here behind glass is a replica of the one that they would have sent to space, because you wouldn't have sent real tires into space. Then we got to touch an actual moon rock, which was really, really cool. And here is a replica of one of the moon landing vehicles, I believe. So it was really cool to get to see all of this. Of course, most of this stuff is not actual stuff that's been to space. Of course, they did have an Apollo 1 tribute to the 3 astronauts who gave their lives in Apollo 1. Again, this was a really powerful exhibit about not just what they did for space, but who they were before they went to space and what they meant to the people they left behind here on Earth. It was a really cool exhibit. Some of the items were hidden behind like glass that would change, and so it kind of moved a little fast, but it was really cool. And then this is one of the walks. So this is like a replica of what they would walk across to get into the shuttle or into the rocket. Then there was another show. The show was when they lost communications and had to sort of land on the fly. And after that show, there was an Apollo 13 exhibit. It was really, really cool to get to see some of this stuff. And everybody was taking pictures. And when we finished out here, we got to exit through the Right Stuff gift shop. And then it was time for the bus ride back. So on the bus ride back, we did get to see some wildlife, and we got to drive right past the vehicle assembly building again. This is located near the Merritt Island, or in the Merritt Island Wildlife Preserve. So there were a lot of wildlife that we got to see. We got to see alligators and turtles and even a baby eaglet. And here's the vehicle assembly building. You can almost see it, but the doors were open for one of the bays, which was really, really cool. And something that I learned about the vehicle assembly building was that the American flag on the building is the size of a 21-story building. So that gives you a little bit of scale of how big this building really is. If you've ever seen it from a cruise ship in Port Canaveral, you'll understand just how big this is.
Gator on the right, guys, in the water. Gator on the right in the water.
Because we have the land managers.
We continued our bus drive back. And of course, like I said, we did get to see a baby eaglet. And we got to hear a really interesting story about the eagle's nest.
Alright guys, the original nest was here in the early 1960s when we started to build Kennedy Space Center. It got so large, larger than a king-size bed, and weighed over 800 pounds. The tree it was in about 4 years ago died. About a year ago, that nest fell out of the dead tree. So what the video said happened. They immediately started to build a new nest. So we're looking at this nest. It's only a little over a year old, but they have mated and they have a baby, okay? Out the right front corner of the bus, you want to find a tall pine tree on this side of the power lines. Where all the branches meet, you can see the nest. There's an eagle in the nest. If it has a white head, it's the adult. If it's solid brown, it's the baby, okay? Over here to the right front. I think that's, is that the baby? Yeah, that's the baby, guys. Yeah, that's a juvenile eagle. It's only about three or 4 months old.
In total, the bus ride is maybe 20-25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, depending on your driver and if they slow down or stop to see wildlife. And of course, like I said, there is a lot of wildlife to see just because it is located in the wildlife preserve. And we had a really excellent bus driver and tour on our way back. On the way out, it was a little bit different. I would say that it was good, but not great. On the way back, it was excellent. So kind of depends on the bus driver that you get. But we made it back to the main campus. Now it's time for the shuttle exhibit. This was really exciting. So that is a replica of the shuttle launch. And so when we came inside, there was a great big long ramp into the exhibit. And one of the posters said it was like bolting a butterfly to a bullet. And I thought that was a very explicit description. So inside this exhibit is a shuttle launch exhibit and lots of like real size replicas. So here's a replica of, I believe, the Atlantis shuttle. Yeah. And this was really cool. We got to see the arm that they would extend into space. And there was also a life-size, real-size replica of the Hubble telescope, which was really interesting. Here it is. And honestly, I think it looks like a Pringles can that has been wrapped in tin foil with a foil lid. And I know it's much, much bigger than that. And I know that it's very high tech, but it is still really very cool. And they did have a cabin that you could get into. It was very busy. This was a very popular portion of the Kennedy Space Center. Here are the different badges for the different space missions on the Atlantis. I think there were 33 in total. And I thought this was a very cool hallway. Here's the bus that actually transports, or replica of the bus that transports the astronauts to space. Here's the bottom part of the Hubble telescope. And it just keeps going. It is so cool. And we did do the shuttle launch experience. This was sort of like Mission Space or Mission to Mars at Epcot, if you've ever done that, but a little bit more intense. And then, of course, there's another gift shop as you exit. Next, we went to the Mars exhibit, and this was a little disappointing to me somehow. There was a show that was about 20 minutes, and there were a few Mars rovers. I don't know, they were okay. I just thought that, and I guess I'd hoped for more. It was really interesting, and of course the Mars rovers are really cool, and my sister thinks they're cute, and they are, and they have really cute names, but it was just very small and not very detailed. Next, we went to the Gateway exhibit, and so this is a gigantic building to the right here. And this is the Gateway to Deep Space missions. So this is very experimental. We don't really have a whole lot of data on deep space. Of course, they're working on it. So this was prototypes and like vision for the future. There was another ride inside the Gateway building, and that was sort of fun. Next, we went to the largest gift shop, which is where I purchased my my sweatshirt, and I did learn a couple of things while I was there, and I'll tell you about that at the end. And then it was time for us to make our way out of the park. We had finished with our day. We had a great time. I think this mural is just beautiful, and you know, it is really powerful when you think about space uniting all of Earth in one mission. So as you can see, it was a very busy day. We did a lot of stuff, and I didn't even get video of everything. I did talk about the shuttle launch experience ride. It is sort of like a theme park ride, and I would classify it as more intense than I think it's Mission Space at Epcot at Disney World. So if you've ever done like the orange version of that Mission Space ride, I would call this more intense than that, because essentially they put you in a replica of a shuttle. So you're in the cargo bay and they tip you completely backwards. And then when a shuttle launches, and they do this before the ride, so they give you a little orientation, and they give you plenty of opportunity to opt out if you wish. But as a shuttle launches, so you start completely vertical, so you're looking straight up at the sky, and then as it launches, it kind of leans forward just a little bit, and then it rocks back, and then you launch. And there are several phases to it. It was really powerful, very, very cool. We had a really good time with this one. The next ride experience that we did was inside the Gateway building, and it was essentially a simulator taking us into deep space. And of course, we've not been there, so nobody really knows what it's like to go out there. So it was more pretend than anything, but it was so much fun. There was a wait for that one, and the wait was a little bit longer. I don't know that I would do that again, or I wouldn't make it a priority, but it was fun. It was very interesting. It reminded me of like Soarin' at Epcot. So again, another Epcot ride, sort of similar, but it's a simulator, and of course you buckle yourself in and you kind of slide forward, and they're blowing air at you, so it feels like you're moving through space. And I can't imagine that it would feel like you're being wind blown when you're traveling through deep space, but that's probably just part of the ride experience. But it was fun. And then I did want to talk to you about the things that I learned in the gift shop. Of course, like, it's a space park, so there's lots of stuff to learn through the whole thing, but I learned about NASA itself, and not like specifically the logos. So I was looking for an old school, like actually this. So I went into the gift shop with one thing in mind. I wanted a NASA sweatshirt. I love sweatshirts. I know I live in Florida, but I like to wear them. I think they're cozy. So I went in looking specifically for something like this, and I didn't see it at first. I saw all kinds of other things. But then when I found this sweatshirt, just a plain crew neck sweatshirt, this was $29.99, so it was $30 for a sweatshirt. They had the gray, and they had like a navy blue with this logo. As I was waiting to check out, I saw two signs, and one of the signs made the tag on this sweatshirt make a lot more sense, because the tag on this sweatshirt described it as gray meatball sweatshirt, and I didn't know what that meant, because this is not a meatball, but actually it is. So this logo is what they describe as the meatball logo. I guess if you squint, it kind of looks like a meatball. I think it's really cool. It's like the old school one. And then the other logo that's like the curvy NASA, if you know what I'm talking about. If you look at it, it looks like a worm. And so that's what they call the worm logo. So you've got a meatball logo and a worm logo. And they talked about how they were bringing it back for, because of the new like space age is essentially what is happening. We've got a lot of people going to space and investing in going to space and learning about space. It's really cool, but they're bringing it back because there's new and rejuvenated interest And of course, we all are into, or I'm really into, the old school logos. So anyway, I thought that was really cool and I wanted to share that with you. If you are coming to Florida and you don't want to go to Disney World or Universal Studios, if you're looking for something to do near the coast, maybe check it out. I haven't been since I was very, very small, and it's changed a lot. I don't remember a whole lot from my first experience there. I remember enjoying it. I remember that we went. I remember thinking this is really cool. And I remember thinking, wow, my dad is having a great time. I can say that the last thing is still very true. He had a great time. I don't think I mentioned, I went with my dad and my sister. We did have a really good time together. It was a lot of fun. I'm so glad we went. They do sell 2-day passes, and I think that might be the way to go if we did it again, just because there's so much to do. We didn't feel rushed, but I think that if we had 2 days in the park instead of just one, I think we might spend more time actually reading things and, you know, take our time going through, and we might do the bus tour twice just because that was so spectacular. And to get to see the Vehicle Assembly Building, or the VAB, the great big gigantic building. I mean, they tell you it's huge and they try to give you scale, but it's still, like, even being there, it is still so much bigger that the scope of it is almost incomprehensible. It's amazing. So anyway, if you're out down in Florida and you're looking for something fun to do, I definitely think it's worth considering. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that today, but that's all that I have. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!